So, Guild Wars 2 has been doing really well lately. A lot of players have returned for the new expansion, and there have also been a lot of new players checking out the game. And there is one specific question they all keep asking me in my Twitch chats. Which expansion should I get? Do I really need to buy all of them? This game looks cool, but wow, that's quite a lot of money. Fear not, my friends. My name is ArenaNet, and I've made it my personal mission to answer all common Guild Wars 2 questions. And today we are talking about which Guild Wars 2 expansion you should buy. What do I recommend? What do different expansions even get you? Is there a way to get them all without breaking the bank? Welcome to the ultimate expansion buyer's guide for Guild Wars 2. Alright, let's start at the very beginning. First of all, you should know that expansions are level 80 content. You first level up your character in the base game, which is free to play. Nowadays, this doesn't take very long. There are some restrictions for free to play players, but the base game should give you a decent taste of what Guild Wars 2 is like. You also get to try out a Raptor mount, which was originally from an expansion, but it does expire after 10 hours. If you want to keep it after that, you will have to buy an expansion. But honestly, you really don't have to buy an expansion before you hit level 80. I actually think free to play is a great way to see if you even like the game before spending money. But if you do end up liking the game, this is where it gets complicated. In most other MMOs, you just buy the newest expansion. That is the one that everyone plays. Old expansion areas are usually kinda dead, and people rarely go back. Old expansions in WoW can feel like a ghost town, because almost everyone is in the current expansion. Hello? Where is everybody? We have to fight the Lich King! But Guild Wars 2 is different. It is a horizontal progression game, which means that the max level and the gear cap never increase. Because of this, old content stays relevant. The first expansion, Heart of Thorns, is still one of the most played ones, in both open worlds and raids. There's still lots of gold to be made here, and people also still care about the rewards like legendaries. So in Guild Wars 2, old expansions still have relevant things to offer, whether it is story, new maps, rewards, instance content or build options. Which does mean it can be a little bit overwhelming trying to pick the right one to buy. Today we will go over what each expansion has to offer, but for now you should know that you don't need to get all expansions at once. That is quite expensive and you also cannot play them all at once anyway. I recommend just getting one at a time, and then when you run out of stuff to do, you can always get another one. But where do you even start? This used to be a really easy question to answer, but after 13 years, Guild Wars 2 has 6 expansions and also 5 seasons of Living Worlds patches. Let me explain. The first 3 expansions were pretty massive, and there was a lot of time in between them. In those periods between expansions, the game would release patches known as Living Worlds. A season of Living World patches is kinda like a small expansion, with story, rewards and often also open world maps. We'll talk more about these seasons later in the video, but for now, at least you know what they are. But it gets more complicated. After the third expansion came out, the game changed its expansion formula. We now get an expansion roughly each year. These new expansions are smaller, but they are also cheaper, come out faster, and their patches are included, so you don't need to buy them separately. Thank God, at least that is a lot easier to understand. So where do you begin? I usually tell new players to start with Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. These are the first 2 expansions and they have a lot of content. They are also bundled together for the price of one expansion, so it is a fantastic starting point and a good deal. There is a lot of content here and this will keep you busy for a while. Heart of Thorns takes place in the heart of Maguma. This jungle is dangerous and also very intricate. There is a lot of verticality and getting around can feel a bit like a Metroidvania. You level up masteries, which then open up more of the worlds. The jungle can be pretty intimidating, but it feels amazing once you learn how to navigate it. These maps still have some of the most popular events in the game, including Octavine, an absolute classic. Heart of Thorns adds 9 new elite specializations. This is basically a subclass for each of the 9 classes. It also adds 4 raid wings, which are still some of the most active ones. This is the one expansion where you can upgrade your glider, letting you for example glide infinitely. I recommend this expansion to any new player, but you may also be excited for the other one in this bundle, Path of Fire. Path of Fire takes place in the Crystal Desert and Alona. These maps are huge. You may think that the desert is kinda boring, but trust me, while these maps are not as vertical as the Heart of Thorns maps, they are some of the most beautiful maps in the entire game. Path of Fire was originally the mount expansion, and it gets you access to the Raptor, Springer, Skimmer, Jackal, and after an expensive side quest, also the Griffon. Each mount has its own movement abilities, and Path of Fire lets you upgrade them a whole lot. You can, for example, upgrade your Raptor to jump way further. Path of Fire is also a great experience for new players. It's really fun unlocking all the mounts and upgrading them, and while the maps aren't as replayable as those from Heart of Thorns, I loved my first playthrough of this expansion. The story is top notch. There's another set of 9 elite specializations, and there are also 3 raid wings. Those raid wings are a bit harder than those from Heart of Thorns, which does mean they're also a little bit less popular. All in all though, Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire together is a killer package. Mounts, gliding, 2 sets of elite specializations, lots of maps, story. You cannot go wrong with this, and this is where I recommend you start. However, there is one caveat, and that is Living Worlds. You remember those patch seasons I was talking about earlier? Yeah, there's actually a whole lot of content that came out around these expansions. In between the base game and Heart of Thorns, there were Living Worlds Seasons 1 and 2. Between Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, there was Living Worlds Season 3. And after Path of Fire, there was Living Worlds Season 4 and Living Worlds Season 5. And Season 5 is also known as the Ice Brood Saga. We're really complicating things here, aren't we? Point is, if you really want the full story experience, you will want to play these patch seasons too. Season 1 is free, but after that one, the other seasons are separate purchases on the Gem Store. Seasons 1 and 2 mostly consist of story instances, but Seasons 3, 4 and 5 also add exclusive new maps and have some of the best stories in the whole game. Season 4 also adds the Roller Beetle mount and has a long quest letting you unlock a sky skill. These are the maps from Season 3, these are the ones from Season 4, and these are the ones from Season 5. These seasons also feature some of the easiest ways to get ascended trinkets, which I talk about more in my gear guides video. If you are a new player and you don't want to spend too much money, it is totally valid to skip Living Worlds for now. You can always get these seasons later, and you should be able to enjoy the expansion stories even without playing Living Worlds. But if you are a story fan and you really want to understand everything, you kinda need to get these too. If that's you, you may even want to consider getting the Elder Dragon Saga Complete Collection. This bundle includes Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, all paid Living World seasons, and also the third expansion, End of Dragons. This is basically all GW2 content from the first 10 years of the game. It will keep you busy for a really long time. But it is also pretty expensive. Currently it's $100, but it does go on sale pretty regularly for $50. For that price, it is an absolute killer deal. I cannot overstate how much content is here. If you get this, you will never have to worry about missing any of those Living World seasons. Alright, we got the confusing Living World stuff out of the way. I hope you're still following. Next, let's talk about those other expansions. The third expansion is End of Dragons, which came out pretty recently in 2022. This is my personal favorite. End of Dragons takes place in the faraway continent of Canva, and in my opinion, it kinda blends the best aspects of Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. The maps aren't as confusing as those from Heart of Thorns, but they are just as replayable, and you'll see people do the meta events all the time. There's another set of 9 elite specializations, a new Siege Turtle mount, fishing, an unlockable boat, and also your own Jade Bolt that you can customize for bonus effects. It can, for example, rest you in open world or let you use this gliding booster. This expansion also has a set of gorgeous legendary weapons to go for, and it also adds 4 standalone raid bosses. These are, in my opinion, some of the best instance fights in the whole game. And for anyone that's scrolling to the comments right now, technically those bosses are called strike bosses, but soon strike bosses will be renamed to standalone raid bosses. We are future-proofing this video. End of Dragons isn't the expansion I would start with. but it is my favorite because I think it has some of the best content. It is definitely worth picking up, but I would probably play Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire first. And then we get to the modern era of Guild Wars 2. Nowadays, we get an expansion roughly once a year. In 2023, we got Secrets of the Obscure, in 2024, we got Janthir Wilds, and just a couple weeks ago, we got Visions of Eternity. These expansions are smaller, but they're also cheaper and their patches are included. Thankles, no more confusing buying the story patches. Secrets of the Obscure was the first yearly expansion, and while it gets criticized a decent amount, it does have some unlocks that you might really care about. It mostly takes place in the sky, in the Horn of Magyuma, and to navigate the skies you get access to a sky skill. This flying mount is extremely useful. It is slower than Path of Fire's Griffin, but it is more precise and it can hang still in the air. Originally, this mount was added in Living World Season 4, and while you can still get it there, the Season 4 unlock quest is pretty long and involves. In Secrets of the Obscure, it is a lot easier to unlock, so some people choose to get this expansion purely for the easy sky skill unlock. Secrets of the Obscure does not add new elite specializations, but it does add weapon master training. This lets you use exclusive elite spec weapons from the first 3 expansions on any other elite spec. So you can, for example, use the Harbinger's pistol on Scourge. Later on in the story, it also unlocks a new set of weapons, some of which are very useful. This is where the Mesmer and the Warrior got their really good healer weapons. Because of this, Secrets of the Obscure is still key to a lot of good meta builds, and you may want to pick it up for weapon options alone. This expansion includes 2 launch maps, 1 patch map, 2 standalone raid bosses, a huge quest to get legendary armor through open world content, and a kinda mixed story. The first half of the story is pretty good in my opinion, and it sets up a lot of future story threads, but the story added in the patches is pretty widely criticized. All in all, Secrets of the Obscure is still a decent package, and a lot of players actually choose to get it early just to get that easy flying mounts. And then up next, the 2024 expansion, Janthir Wilds. Personally, I like this expansion more than Secrets of the Obscure, but I do know that there's a lot of players who skip this one. This expansion takes place in the northern region of Janthir. We meet these bears and deal with a returning threat from Guild 1. The story feels pretty standalone and maybe not quite as essential as the one from Secrets of the Obscure. But who knows, maybe it will be super important for some future story. There's a new legendary spear, a legendary backpiece, a new race wing, 2 launch maps and 2 smaller patch maps. Janthir Wilds also adds player housing, which is really awesome if that's something you care about. The bears give you this cozy house and the tools for customizing it are absolutely incredible. People have made some really impressive homesteads, and I can easily lose hours decorating. Once again, there are no elite specializations in this expansion, but Janthir does add a spear weapon for each class. These spears are really fun to play and they are used in quite a lot of meta builds. On the mount front, Janthir Wilds upgrades the Warclaw mount, which was originally designed for Wolves vs Wolves. In Janthir Wilds, the Warclaw gets this amazing double jump, which almost lets it compete with flying mounts. It also gets a spear throw skill, a chain skill for CC, and a sniff skill to find treasures. I love the upgraded Warclaw, and it is my favorite mount to use on lands. Personally, I like Janthir Wilds more than Secrets of the Obscure, but so far my favorite of the new expansions is the new one, Visions of Eternity. Visions of Eternity came out literally 2 weeks ago as I am recording this video. It takes place on the mysterious island of Castora. Its 2 launch maps are, in my opinion, some of the most fun open world maps ever. And this expansion once again features a set of elite specializations. I am so happy about this. The weapons added by Soto and Janthir were cool, but in my opinion, elite specializations are a lot more exciting. This expansion upgrades the Skimmer mount, which was previously exclusive to Path of Fire. When you level it up in this expansion, you can basically fly with it. And it's generally pretty competitive with the sky skill. It's maybe not quite as precise or easy to use, but it is a lot of fun. So far, Visions of Eternity is off to a great start, with elite specs, one of the most interesting stories in a good while, and some of the best open world content ever. However, the patches for this expansion aren't released yet as I am making this video, so if you buy this right now, you may have to wait a little bit for the patch content to come out. So far though, the launch content has been absolutely stellar. And now it is time for some buyer's advice. I highly recommend starting at the very beginning with Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, and then just playing through all the expansions chronologically. But you can also choose to go out of order. If you really want to go to Canva and try fishing, get End of Dragons. If you want the flying mount early, maybe get Secrets of the Obscure. If housing is your thing and you want a versatile land mount, get Janthir Wilds. And finally, if you want to experience some of the best the open world has to offer, you cannot go wrong with Visions of Eternity. And also, if you really want the full story experience and get even more maps to explore, don't forget about Living Wills. Most of all though, you should know that you don't need to get all expansions at once. You cannot play them all at once anyway. However, if you do want to get them all, I probably recommend waiting for a sale. GW2 expansions go on sale pretty regularly, usually at the same time as major Steam sales. You can save a lot of money this way. Alright, that's pretty much it. I hope this video managed to clear up some stuff. If you're considering getting any expansions and you found this video helpful, you can really help me out by using my affiliate link. I'm a member of the ArenaNet Partner Program, and if you use my link to buy expansions on GW2.com, you can support my channel financially at no additional cost to you. It really does help me out, but be aware, expansions from GW2.com do not work with Steam or Epic accounts. If you have any other questions, consider dropping by my Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/Neuranity. I stream GW2 5 nights a week and I really hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time.